Gotta kick off the show here.
We're agreeing.
So cleaned up.
All right, Bills Mafia, what's going on? Welcome to the Mafia Cast, part of the Buffalo Rumblings podcast network. We got a great show lined up today and a returning guest. Super excited to have John back. How's it going, John?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Well.
Can't complain.
Casey, Mike, what's up, guys?
Not much. Waiting on you, but Pop Ron made it on time by just a hair. So here we are.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a little warm right now, rushing through the house trying to get here on time, but hey, we made it. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, you guys, I'm assuming everybody had a chance to catch that game last week.
For sure.
Oh yeah,
For sure. I actually tuned right in right around the Dane Jackson pick. I was a little busy working on something, and then it was like I saw that, and I'm like, "Yep, you have my attention." Here we go.
Bills football is back. Football in general is back. I'm super excited. You can kind of starting to get that excitement in the air. Got some more games coming up this week. But before we get into any of that, let's kind of go around the league. We've got some new signings in the AFC East. Cook and Zeke Elliott. What do you guys think of that? We'll start with John. What do you think?
Well, right now on paper, I think we've probably got the worst running back core in the league or in the division. But Zeke's getting older. Cook, I don't know. He could have a real good year, but or Dalvin Cook. James Cook, I think he's going to break out this year. So at the end of the year, it's going to be reversed a little bit to where Buffalo's got the elite running back in the division, not New England or New York.
New York.
Okay, New Jersey. Come on. Casey, what do you think about the signings? Does that kind of move the needle for you at all, or just kind of the same?
The Jets, they're just stocking up. They look like what it feels like they're doing what if Miami did last year with getting Tyreek Hill, and then this year and last year also getting Bradley Chubb and Teron Armstead, and this year getting Jalen Ramsey. It feels like the Jets are doing the same thing, but we saw how well it worked out for Miami last year. Now, granted, Tua did get hurt, but with that much talent and that good of a head coach on that team, we all kind of I feel like they should have done better. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets, they don't win the Super Bowl like everybody thinks they're going to now. Zeke to the Patriots doesn't really do much for me. It's a stagnant offense as it is, and they just added in another slow player to it. So I think Andre's still a much better running back at this point in time than Zeke is. But, he's there to do what he did in Dallas last year, run it from 3 yards in and get the touchdown.
Yeah, I think he had double-digit touchdowns last season too, playing that role. So, it's nothing to laugh at. But I agree. I think he slowed down considerably. Mike, what you got as far as these two signings in the AFC East?
Yeah, you're asking if it moves the needle for you. The Cook signing moves the needle in all directions. I got Breece Hall in my fantasy league for starters.
He's off the pup.
Yeah, but and the Jets are just making moves now. I got that feeling. They're really, really going for it. As much as they can. So it definitely shakes things up a little bit. What else is there to really say? I did have one more thing. I'll have to come back to that though.
Okay. So I think for me, Breece Hall coming off the pup, they've already got – I had the name earlier and then I forgot it again. The other running back with the Jets who was there before Breece Hall.
Zonovan
No,
Knight.
no, not Knight.
Oh,
Before
Michael
him.
Carter.
Carter. Yeah, so they've got a pretty stacked backfield, but only one of those guys are going to be on the field at a time, maybe two.
Yeah.
So to me, it doesn't really change much.
But I
And
like the idea too of like the 1-2 punch running back. Having two really good
yeah,
decent running backs. Conserve energy, or guys get banged up. You're not too worried about who's up next.
I'll put that back up there again.
Yeah.
We're all clicking the same things here. So Cook will do
Scott.
great when he has someone else to split time with. Holland Cook are scary. I mean, as a duo, sure. But I question how much Cook has left in him. I guess we'll see, but
I mean, I haven't seen anything that shows that he's necessarily slowing down. I mean, the Vikings didn't cut him for like production reasons. He was cut just because of the cap number, and he was like, "No, I'm getting my money," because he could see the writing on the wall with what's going on with running backs. So I mean, I won't be surprised if Dalvin Cook rushes for 1,000 yards, 6-7 touchdowns and 200-300 yards receiving. I mean, he's a very good running back, and I just haven't seen anything that's gotten him to slow down yet, besides his injuries. But that was a few years ago.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of fans bring up last season's game against the Vikings as a reason to be concerned about him because he had a game against the Bills, but he really didn't. He had that 180-yard touchdown that kind of sparked the comeback, I think. But before and after that, he didn't do anything. I think he was averaging like maybe 2 to 3 yards per carry. So I thought our defense did a really good job against him. But he is somebody that, yes, he can break free and get that big one on you. So we'll see, how that goes for them. But for me, I'm not really too concerned. As long as our defense can play the way that we know that they can, and from what we've seen so far and what we've heard in camp, these guys are looking pretty good. However, I did want to touch on one kind of a concern that's popped up with the Bills as far as injuries go, and that's the middle linebacker spot. Spector is injured. Bernard is injured. I'm not sure about Dotson. But all of a sudden, those guys are kind of falling apart. Are you guys worried about the middle linebacker position? And I'll start with Casey on this one. But for me, we'll kind of get back to what I think on that before, afterwards. But Casey, what do you think? Are you worried about the middle linebacker, regardless of who's in there?
I mean, regardless of who's in there, yeah, because they all had their own individual weaknesses. I mean, Dodson isn't great in pass coverage. Bernard, isn't fantastic in run coverage. He's a little bit on the smaller side. Spector, they just don't like him for whatever reason, even though he fits the entire freaking mold. AJ Klein, I mean, I saw Air Raid Twitter tweeted today, "Hey, watch AJ Klein be the starting middle linebacker today come week 1." And at this point, I mean, he might be, because Dodson can't stop smacking people with helmets, and nobody else can stay healthy. So, I mean, it might honestly come down to just last man standing. So, I'm a little worried, but I was worried going into the preseason, and I expected to be worried going into the regular season because we could tell they weren't going to make any more additions to the room. Right. Worthwhile anyway.
Yeah. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really like all 4 guys, but every one of them has got issues. It's just it's so hard to say. I mean, I don't think we're going to have one that's going to go through and be able to stick around for a stretch of 8, 9, 10 games. And like Casey said, it wouldn't shock me at all if Klein is in the spot, week 1.
Yeah, I have a question related to that, but I'll ask that in a minute. I'll let Mike talk first.
Yeah, we've all been worried since Tremaine left. I think that's pretty safe to say that. But yeah, until we find, like John was saying, string some weeks together, something consistent. We just don't have that right now. So yeah, it's definitely a worry. But we saw some bright spots, I think. I mean, I focused on the rookies a little bit during the preseason game, and I saw like Dorian Williams get targeted and then, come back and make the play a couple plays later. So, the potential's there, but, to get it really nailed down, would be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Who's going to be there.
Casey, address Jessica's comment because I know you're a big Balen Spector fan. What do you think about what she said?
I mean, I think that's who those two are fighting for that last spot, because they both can play special teams, and the more likely than not the same special teams position. So I think Klein is in there if Spector completely craps the bed. They know what they're going to have in Klein. They know the production they're going to get from him on special teams. If Spector can just give them that exact same, and then maybe with that unknown upside at middle linebacker, that gives him the edge to make the team. But yeah, I see that being one or the other, and the other being on the practice squad. But being on the practice squad is one of those, being like one of those three guys tagged every week that can't be stolen.
So let me ask this question. Based on the middle linebacker spot, do you think it's more important to have a guy with some upside, some athleticism, or the smart guy who, and I'm not saying that Dotson and Bernard aren't smart, because I'm sure they are, but as far as knowing the defense, having that experience, reacting to offenses and reading, not coverages, but offensive lineups and stuff, which do you think is more important, having a guy in there with that experience that knows how to call a defense versus the guy with the upside and athleticism?
At this point in time in the win now scenario, the guy that is going to be where he needs to be when he needs to be there at all times. And hey, AJ Klein won AFC Defensive Player of the Week the one time he got a start, and he started in place for Tremaine Edmonds. We know he's not great at pass coverage, but if they give him the same designation basically as they gave Edmonds last year, see ball, go get football, period, point blank. He can do that. He's proven he can do that. He came from the Saints being a starting linebacker, just doing that. So I wouldn't hate it, until he finally does plateau. But
that's just not exciting.
Yeah,
it's not exciting.
Leader. You definitely need that leader in there, that play caller, that captain of the defense, that centerpiece. Say that that's definitely
I agree, because that seems to be the thing I keep hearing from Coach McDermott related to Dorian Williams is he's just not ready from that aspect of the game. Because we saw in the preseason game, he was all over the place. He was making some plays. He looked good. And some people even say, why don't we just put them both on there, him and oh my gosh, the other linebacker, Milano, out there on the field, because in the nickel that we run a lot and basically is our base, there's not really a true middle linebacker. So put them both out there, get that speed and athleticism out there, and let him learn, kind of almost on the fly. And maybe Milano can call the defenses instead. But I don't know.
John, I got a question for John. Who do you think, who do you think should start at middle linebacker? Barring injury, everybody's the same. Who do you think should be the starter?
I love Bernard.
Yeah.
Just for a few different reasons. He's still young. He's got a grasp of the defense. He did well last year. Something about him, I don't think he's ever going to be a Milano or Edmonds even. But I'd go with him. He's been around a little bit to know the system. This is his third year now.
Second year.
Second year. I'd go with him, but that's just me.
What do you think, Mike?
I like the idea of Klein. I don't mind that at all. Someone who's definitely has some time.
It's the safe pick.
Yeah, definitely.
So here's my opinion about the middle linebacker position. It's almost kind of becoming like the way of the running back. You have the pass rush, your front four. You've got the defensive backfield, the coverage, and I'm not saying that the middle linebacker isn't important, but as far as the grand scheme of which one of those should be your priority, the linebacker position has kind of become the odd man out, if you will. So, and I feel like with this roster and this defensive talent that we have, it's kind of like the Josh Allen effect. He can cover up some of the mistakes from the offense, and I feel like that the defense can do the same for the middle linebacker with Milano in there in the front four, especially when Von Miller gets back. And we'll see how that pass rush continues and that front four continues to perform as the preseason goes on and into the season. And if they keep doing what they did last week and what we keep hearing in camp, I think we'll be fine regardless of who's in the middle linebacker spot. So for me, yeah, I'd have to go with Klein just because I'm confident that he knows he could call the defense and not have to worry about that. Is he going to be able to, cover sideline to sideline? Probably not, but he's going to make sure everybody's in position.
Yeah.
Give me Balin Spector. The most natural player to play the position. People want a middle linebacker. Give me the guy that is most size-wise and natural talent to Tremaine Edmonds.
Give me whoever's there week one. I'm just fired up for it.
I want Balin Spector, man.
Yeah, see, and that's Brandon brings up the same point. McDermott might need that experience on the field, calling defensive plays for the first time. So Klein is basically like a coach on the field. So being like an extension of McDermott on the playing field, I think that just makes the most sense. Assuming that I think Dotson is probably the next in line as far as the experience and understanding of the defense. And I've told you guys before, that's kind of my pick. I want to see Dotson on the field and see what he can do as the full-time starter. There was we'll kind of jump back here really quick. We kind of brought up last week's game a little bit, so we're going to go back to that and kind of recap that. I already mentioned the pass rush. That to me stood out. But what about you guys, John? What stood out to you the most in that preseason game?
I just the way that kind of Barkley took control of things and really had that offense moving in the second half. It made me feel a lot better about, if God forbid something were to happen for Josh, whether it's for a series or an entire week, or I'll leave it at a week.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. I think Barkley's a real solid backup quarterback, and I like what he did on Saturday. I think he needs to be the number 2 guy. It took away some of the worries just in case.
Yeah, I agree, and kind of also you kind of make the same point with Barkley and Kyle Allen that we just did with the middle linebacker position. Barkley knows this offense, and it showed. Like, he knew what to do. Is he the more physically talented? Is he more physically gifted than Kyle Allen? No, but he knows the offense, and he's going to get the timing down. He has that chemistry developed. He knows what he's doing out there. And to that end, and I'll want to hear from Casey and Mike as well as far as what stood out from them in this game. But I also want you guys to kind of touch on the QB2 situation that has suddenly become news as of late. Mike, go.
For me, it's Barkley all the way as number 2. I mean, when we went to camp, we saw him drop a beautiful ball in there over the shoulder. 2 touchdowns in the preseason. That's our guy. That's it. Like you said, not physically, like where Josh Allen's at or Kyle Allen, like you're saying, but and he doesn't have that arm strength, that bullet pass or whatever, but he lofts these balls, these floaters in there, and he makes it happen and plays smart. So definitely our guy.
And we were talking before the show, before Papa Ron got here, just that like Barkley's very, I said he was cerebral. Like, he's not the natural like athletic ability, but he's smart, and he's been in the system for God knows how long now. I mean, this is his second stint, but so I think his 4th year. But he knows like what's going on. I understand there's a new offensive coordinator and everything, but he knows how the team works. He knows what Josh needs, wants, how to talk to him on the sideline. But that's also why they brought Kyle Allen in. I think they were hoping that Kyle Allen, working with Josh and being friends with him, maybe Josh would rub off on him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? When you play sports, when you play with better people, you're going to play better, So I understand where, like, Kyle Allen, I mean, he was potentially a starting quarterback at one point in this league, and he fell off, and it seemed like he just didn't have the confidence. And if he can get with, one of his best friends and work together and see what he does and like just talk together, and maybe he can be better. And it's still early. I mean, we saw
It is early.
like a half a preseason game. He play that great? No. But I mean, he also didn't play ungodly terrible. He kind of played how we expected Kyle Allen to play. And we should just hope that he's going to get better. I mean, I think he's going to end up being quarterback 2 on this team. And Barkley, because I don't know why, but nobody's going to take Barkley off the practice squad. So
I don't think they claim or forget Kyle off the practice squad either. But
true.
You brought up a good point, though, as far as going forward. It is early, and we heard from last season from some of the players about the complexity of this offense, and it does take some time. And that was one reason why one reason why I promise I've not been drinking today. That Nyheim Hines had such a, I guess, didn't have a role really in the offense last year, and we heard it from a few other players that it does take time. It's a complex offense, and Josh Allen even said as much in his last press conference talking about Kyle Allen. It takes some time to kind of digest that playbook. So as the preseason goes, I agree, Casey. I think he will get better, and ultimately, I do think he'll be the guy because, I mean, yeah, I just think he can. He's closer to Josh Allen, obviously, than Matt Barkley. If Barkley's in there, I think the offense has to be dialed back, right? There's a lot of things that they can't do that they would be able to do with either one of the Allens. But
all right.
There's a couple. This one here, really quick. I want to bring this one up. Barkley typically plays well against third and fourth stringers. Don't be fooled. That's from Roy Collins. The only thing I will say is if you guys remember when Barkley first came to the Bills, brought him in off the streets practically, and he hung 41 points on the Jets in a regular season game. So yeah, I know third and fourth stringers. I get that, but he's played well in the regular season as well.
And you can only play against what's across the field from you. It's not like those guys are holding back, or they're still NFL football players. They're still better than just about everybody in college. Are they going to be Patrick Mahomes and the Eagles? No, but I mean, it's still like high competition. You still have to go out there and achieve, like, do what he did.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys are fighting for a roster spot. So it takes that third or fourth string up a notch.
Yeah, exactly.
The intensity,
absolutely.
They're all saying it was the Jets.
Who were the Jets then? Yeah, they weren't very good, but whatever. And it was, I get it. But and he did the same thing against the Dolphins a couple of seasons ago when the Dolphins needed the win. I think it was week 17. The Dolphins needed that win to get in, and Josh played the first half. We were winning, and then they brought Barkley, and he hung another like 30 points. Well, we scored like 50-something points in that game.
Dude, it was freaking awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Jessica here. Montana had an average arm, just knew where everyone was supposed to be in timing routes, and that was exactly what the West Coast offense was. Those crossers, those slants, and all about the timing. And Montana was probably the best at it. Sky Air Barkley has low, very low ceiling. That's why he won't get nabbed off the practice squad. Yeah, we know he won't. But is there anything else from the game that stood out to you guys? Because there was a couple of. Well, there's one other thing I wanted to get to, and that's the wide receivers in this game. I thought it was interesting. I can't remember his first name, but Shavers, the wide receiver.
Tyrell Shavers.
Tyrell had a couple of drops, but then he came back and he bounced back from that and had made some really great plays, had a touchdown. And it just reminded me of Gabe Davis. He makes a lot of great plays, but when he makes a bad one, everybody's on him. Shaver makes a couple of bad ones. Nobody cares because he made some good ones. Like, but
I know it was tough to watch. Didn't he tip it and it got picked?
Yeah, that was also
no.
That was also.
And then he dropped another one, and
I'm like, that was thrown.
I'm like, this guy's done. He's toast.
That ball was basically spinning sideways through the freaking air.
Yeah, and then of course, gets the touchdown reception. So.
Yeah, he definitely finished much stronger. So, then the wide receiver, I think, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably in the minority, but I think the wide receiver depth on this team is better than most people expected or think it is. And it kind of brings me to question there might be some guys that get cut that don't make the 53-man roster because we're assuming that probably what keeps six wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
We know Diggs, Davis, and then where are we going after those two? Which, if you
We
guys are
know
to
it's
pick your six,
Diggs, Davis, Shakir, Hardy, Sherfield, and now Isabella's making a name for that number 6.
But a lot of people are doubting Shakir now for
yeah,
whatever
that's
reason,
what I was
but I
going with
still
this.
think he's
Shakir is not getting
doing
cut.
really well.
Shakir is so far from getting cut.
It's that other thing with like he drops a ball and everyone freaks out.
Yeah.
So,
And that's
Everybody-
exactly what that was too. He had that one drop for on a third, I think 3rd and 5 on the sideline, and he dropped it, which would have been a first down. But he made some great plays before that too. I just think you have to be careful with certain players. Like it happens every single preseason. There's always that one Duke Williams or who was the running back?
Christian Wade.
Christian Wade. There's always that guy that the fans
That's my
absolutely
Andy
fall in love
Isabella
with.
this year.
right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that is Isabella.
Well,
Casey, Mike,
Jesse,
I know you guys had some thoughts on Isabella, so
go ahead, Mike.
He looked strong. You know, and he's quick. I mean, I don't know if he's the return guy. But kind of like seeing him run these drags and stuff reminds me of like the Bees role. You know, we had, you know, kind of his sort of thing. You know, just a short route guy, the fast guy. I mean, he made some excellent yards after catch too. So,
well, he's got like a 4.31 40. It's the
yeah,
number that I
so
heard.
I'm not
Crazy fast.
I don't have a problem with seeing him on the field at all. You know,
like
however,
maybe he could be our Tyreek Hill.
Decide to work him in.
Well, that was what Deontay Hardy was supposed to be when they brought him in.
Right.
That's what I can't remember who it was, but someone in the front office said, "Now we have our Tyreek Hill." I was like, "Ooh."
But do we keep them both?
It's like a Family Dollar version of Tyreek Hill.
Do you keep one as a return guy and one as a
between Hardy and Isabella?
Yeah.
You know, I brought this up, and Jessica mentioned it here. Apparently her and I listen to the same podcast. Tasker seems to be on the Isabella train today, along with Chris Brown, and they were talking about that.
Are we thinking we can't keep them both?
No, we can't. Well, I mean, we could, but who are you going to cut?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
it would be shorter.
Yeah.
Well, see, I think Shorter ends up in the practice squad regardless.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, we haven't seen a lot from him yet.
Well, yeah, we haven't really seen much. He is a rookie, and I think there's between Sherfield, Shakir, Isabella, Hardy, Diggs, Davis. I think there's just too many guys there for Shorter to make the 53. So, and I hope what we don't see happen is Shorter becomes the next Isaiah Hodgins, because that's what happened with Hodgins. He got hurt, he couldn't stay healthy, he ended up on the practice squad, blah blah blah, and now he's I think going to be the number one receiver with the Giants, but that's a different show.
Darren Waller is going to be the number one wide receiver.
And that's a tight end, but I know I get what you're saying. Yeah. There was. Yeah, here's one on Shorter. Shorter only path is a 4-phase special teamer. Didn't know target last game, Isabella or Shorter. Well, and you didn't notice Shorter because I don't think he really did much.
He played the first half, and he just wasn't targeted. He didn't get a single target, but he didn't play at all in the second half. But the special teams thing, I mean, that's why one reason why the Bills love him is because he is a 4-phase special team guy. You know, he's great. I mean, he does it all. So they're banking on that, and then the upside of his freak athletic ability and being the number one prospect coming out of high school. You know, they're hoping that he can get back to that same form.
Apologies if
it's
you guys
tough when you say you got to get back.
In the background. So Ralph Wilson has risen from the dead, and he says Shorter peaked in high school, underwhelming ever since.
Didn't we all?
Yeah. I'm going to leave that alone. Could go in so many different directions with that. So, John, what is your opinion on because Isabella and Sherfield, all these guys seem to have a place on special teams more so than Shakir, and that's what concerns me because I love Shakir. Anybody who listens to this show knows that I have watched Shakir here at Boise Stakes. I live in the area for his entire college career. I hope he explodes. But I am worried because he's not a special teamer. He doesn't have that to fall back on like all the other receivers do, and we know how McDermott is about a special team. So, what do you think about that, John? Is he safe, or is he might be practice squad fodder?
He's definitely safe if the NFL changes it to a 54-man roster.
Okay.
If that doesn't happen this year, I don't see him making it.
Right.
That was pretty good. That was a good
one. I can say that for a few guys, though. That's tough.
Yeah.
Truth. Now, this whole thing would be so much easier if the Bills just keep 7 freaking wide receivers.
Which, yeah, Jessica says that she thinks that they do keep 7. But I think we keep 3 tight ends plus Gilliam. I think we keep 8 offensive linemen. Of course, 2 quarterbacks. I think probably 3 running backs. And I don't know how many, where that puts us as far as the numbers or whatnot, but I don't know if there's room or going to be room for 7, especially with as much as they rotate the defensive line. And that depth on that group is phenomenal. Like that can go 7, 8 deep easy. Now we've said that in the past and, we saw what happened, but part of that was injuries. But I don't know if there's room for 7.
The issue is the depth at linebacker. I think that's where the numbers game comes into. I think if they were more comfortable, had a more set in stone middle linebacker.
I have to put that up there.
I saw that earlier. I think if they had a more solid answer at middle linebacker, they were like, all right, this is it. I think they probably. I wouldn't be surprised if they would cut one more shy off that linebacker spot and keep 7.
It's a good point. Very good point, because not knowing who's going to – like none of those guys have really stepped up and been the guy, so, they might be more apt to keep a few of them around just in case one fails, as the season goes. We have a whole bunch of stuff on tap today, and, okay, I'm going to get to this for Casey because I know he wants to talk about it.
No, we do not have to talk about it. I promise you we don't have to talk about it.
You told me, okay, so on our notes, you put it like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. This may not be verbatim, but you said Anthony Richardson, fill in the blank, played well, showed well, or something to that effect.
Could be good. Could be good.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Could be good.
So, John, are you aware of the bet that is between Jay Spence the King and Casey?
I am not.
Okay, Casey, fill in.
So we had a bet because Spence thought I was nuts, thinking because I compared the way Anthony Richardson looks to the same way that Josh Allen looked coming out of college, just like the physical specimen, super raw, but if they can be refined, be very good. And look, I was right about Josh Allen. And Spence, he was like not happening, not happening. And he hopped right on our show last week, and we made a bet, 3,200, like over under 3,200 passing yards. I took the over, and loser has to have hair pink for 2 weeks.
It's got to be on the show. You got to be on the show.
You have to have it for 2 shows.
I will be tuning in for those 2 shows without a doubt.
It started at 3,500, but then
I had to talk. I was like, that's a little bit of a high number. I mean, come on now.
So I was saying,
I think you went 3,200. Allen didn't have 3,200 his rookie year.
But we had the yardage counter last year. You got to get the yardage counter for Richard this year too.
Pop Ron had that's right, the total yardage record. Now we got to get that for Richardson.
The count.
The beard is not going.
I'm not dyeing my beard pink over Casey's bad decision.
I'm not dyeing my beard pink over my bad decision. No, so Richardson, I liked what I saw. I mean, I like the zip he has, like the football has coming out of his hand. Like a couple of times, I was like, "Whoa!" And I mean that interception. I mean that it was an errant throw. It seemed like he and the wide receiver were both like neither of them were in the right spot at the right time. Somebody rushing in his face. I mean, I'm not making excuses. I mean, that's just what happened. And he made a poor throw. He should have just dumped it out of bounds over the guy's head. But He made some other great passes, and I mean, we saw what he could do running the ball. I mean, we saw him stiff arm Groot. I mean, who can put Groot on the ground where he can't even get a hand on it? That was impressive to me. I mean, I saw a lot of things that in that short amount of time that I like it. I liked it. I liked what I saw.
Yeah. See, I didn't really see anything that wowed me with him, honestly. What I did notice that there was a few of his throws were like a 3/4 of a sidearm almost.
Like a baseball.
So I thought that was kind of odd. We will, that's something that, they can work out of him, I suppose. And I'm sure they'll try to do that. I want to see what he does in this offseason, though. And that's where I compare a lot of the young quarterbacks to Josh Allen, because Allen took it upon himself to go find additional help in the off seasons to get that extra training. It wasn't just Dayball. It wasn't just Dorsey. So we always hear about people, well, who do you credit Josh Allen's rise to? I credit to Josh Allen because he went out there and took the initiative to get better and find the people to put around him to make him better and improve his thing. So I want to see Richardson do that. If he does that, maybe things will change. But for right now, I didn't personally see anything. Did you guys see anything from the preseason game that made you think, oh my gosh, this is the next Josh Allen?
My God, I didn't say that.
But I agree with what you're saying, Ronnie, and I kind of said it when we talked about it last week, that it's just not in that setting for him. He needs that talent around him.
And Casey, I didn't mean that he's literally the next Allen. I'm just meaning that takes that kind of a progression through his career. I know you didn't say he would be Josh Allen.
Well, good, because Spence on Twitter, came at me and tried saying that I thought he was Josh Allen now, and I was like, "All right, bro, like hold on a minute."
Hey, we'll see who has the pink hair.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be.
There's a couple things here from Jessica. I wanted to. It is. It is a big number. If you just said 3,200 total yards, that would be different. Because I do think he could pull it off.
I would say I don't think Spence would have taken. I don't think Spence would have taken.
Probably not. Probably not. I want to jump back here really quick to what Jessica said, because we're kind of going about the 53-man roster. She's like saying 25 on offense, 9 offensive linemen, 2 QBs, 3 running backs, fullback, tight end, 3. Fullback, tight end, 3 tight ends, 7 wide receivers. That's kind of confusing right there, but I get what she's saying. So 3 tight ends, the fullback, 7 wide receivers. I guess we'll see. I think cut down to date is the 29th. So
that would leave us at 28 on the defense.
Yeah, which could be. She also, talking about Richardson, will have at least 9 games in a dome, a big plus to make the yardage. Well, I feel the Brow really overpaid for Watt. Oh, Browns. Really overpaid. I thought maybe that was somebody's nickname, like the
Brow? Anthony Davis?
Anthony Davis, thank you.
Yeah, there we go.
I agree. I think they overpaid for Watson. I think Watson will be better this year, but they definitely overpaid. All that guaranteed. Wasn't Dorsey Allen's offseason coach. Dorsey was the QB coach. However, Allen spent time with Jesse Palmer, in California. He did the first, I think, 3 summers at least.
Yeah,
he was.
I don't know if he still does or now.
Yeah, I think this summer, I think, was the first time maybe he didn't, or at least that we didn't hear. He was too busy golfing, which is fine. I have no problem. I'm
Good
not one
for
of those
him,
like,
bro.
oh, he needs to focus on football.
Hit me up, Josh. Come on.
Are you challenging him? Okay, you challenge him. You guys dyed the beard pink?
Oh, dude, I will smoke Josh at golf. There is not a doubt in my mind.
Uh-oh.
Zero.
We're going to have to find a way to get that to Josh.
Oh, my God.
Please.
I don't know, man.
Please.
Okay.
I watched him golf on TV. I was not impressed.
Casey, just curious. What do you think of this color?
It's close to his hair color.
Yeah, that's about what it's going to be, bud. That's about what it's going to be.
Yeah,
it's coming.
You see, I don't think you're as good at golf as Josh is at football.
I can guarantee you I'm not as good at golf as he is at football because I'm not Tiger Woods.
I was an overall athlete. It's a lot. I'd love to see you try.
Yeah, maybe we can find a way to get that to him just so he can laugh. I'm just kidding.
Bring it.
All right, we're moving on. Let's talk about this differences and similarities in the defense from the preseason game and from kind of what I've heard from some of the players. he didn't do a whole lot of uh, crazy blitzes and things like that. Nothing exotic on the defensive side, but it did to me have a more aggressive feel to it, even though it was still kind of a vanilla approach. But that to me was the biggest difference. What do you guys think, Mike?
Yeah, like you said, maybe it was vanilla, keeping the schemes the same and rotating guys through and see how they perform. But it was sort of aggressive. You mentioned like the edge looked really good, like with both first and second string or whatever wherever you want to call the guys because we don't know exactly. But I don't know, they all look strong. I mean, it is the same defense, looking better, but still lacking pieces. Like we were saying earlier, unknown with the linebacker thing. But I feel like we pick up kind of right where we left off. And the D-line is definitely looking a little better. We know what we got at defensive back. We've known that for a while. So if we can nail it down at linebacker, so that's the only thing really, really different. The linebacker, but the difference is we're missing a piece here, maybe, but I don't want to say missing a piece, but it's just not. We don't have a constant right there, but we have an improvement in another area. So
Right.
So I think things are still looking up.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was nothing spectacular, nothing that there weren't any surprises, good or bad. I think it's just going to be, another year, and it's. I think the defense as a whole is going to be playing a little bit more aggressive, just because we're back to that underdog tag, and. I think it's going to be a lot of the same stuff, just maybe a little bit faster and a little bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. I think we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Casey?
So the way they were aggressive was they showed like cover zero a lot, or cover one a lot. Where they had everybody, linebackers lined up in the A gap. And sometimes they sent both, one or none. They'd have the blitz, but they gave the same look a lot, which was something that we usually didn't get from a Leslie Frazier defense. And a lot of times, Tremaine Edmonds would walk up, but it was kind of like a half-assed walk up. And then he'd pop, but you knew he was popping. And Matt Milano, the time that he would come, it was usually on a delayed blitz, or when he was more so just being a quarterback spy. And as soon as he'd leave the pocket, Milano was going in and sending it. But this McDermott looked like he was more willing to send the pressure right up the middle. And also, we saw the nickel corner come flying in a lot, especially with the first team in between the 40s. One of the announcers during the game mentioned something about that's how McDermott used to blitz when he was in Carolina. And I really started to pay attention. Outside the 40s, he wasn't blitzing too much, but inside, he was really going at it. And a lot of times that was that nickel corner. So I liked what I saw. I do think we're going to be more aggressive, and I think we should be more aggressive. We had the athletic playmakers to be more aggressive. We have a lot of ball hawks behind us, so if we can, get the ball thrown up quick or tipped or just off center, then I'm much happier with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think this defense is going to make more plays. I think we're going to see some moments in games where they do get beat because they are more aggressive, though.
It's going to be all or nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm all for. I think
Yep.
I think you need to put that pressure and force offenses to react quickly, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for. We're going to jump back because there's a conversation going on in the comments, going back to the QB2 scenario again, though, but that's okay. Roy here says, if San Francisco cuts Sam Darnold, would you guys be okay if the Bills signed him and released Kyle Allen? So Darnold, being the number 2 here. John, I'll start with you. What do you think about Sam Darnold if he gets cut?
Trash.
Nah.
I've never liked him. he's definitely not a starter. I don't think he's a good backup. If you want a coach, on the practice squad, okay, that's one thing. But I don't like him.
Well, it doesn't thrill me either. I like what we saw from Barkley.
Yeah,
I just got
I mean, if you just to break it down simple, like if you look at a list of all like the free agent quarterbacks that are out there right now and compare him like Barkley to all those quarterbacks, I mean, look, if out of 4 games, Barkley's probably, we're probably going to win 2 with Barkley. I went down that list and I was like, I don't see anybody that's going to win us 3, let alone 4 of those games. So what's the difference between Andy Dalton doing it or Matt Barkley doing it? I feel like we're going to get the same production out of them because at that point, if Allen goes down, the entire system changes and it's built around that quarterback. No matter what, no matter who it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I was never a big fan of Darnold myself when he was coming out. There's some spin here. If or is Darnold playing that bad that they would cut him because Lance is performing poorly as well? It's funny. I'm talking about San Francisco for a second, but a lot of people talked about how they had quarterback depth. They've got who's going to be the starter? It's all up in the air. But 2 of these guys are not doing well, and Lance was a second, third pick in the draft, I believe, overall, and he is definitely not showing it. But I did see, I can't remember where I saw this. It's on some social media somewhere, but somebody put up his career pass attempts going back to high school, and it's like, 100 in high school, 200 in college, 100 in preseason, 72, I think it was, in regular season games. The point being made that, like, last season, Josh Allen alone had more attempts than Trey Lance has had his entire career back to high school. So maybe there's still hope for Trey Lance, but he doesn't look like he's ready to lead a team. I don't know that they would cut him or Darnold, especially after what happened to them last season. They probably want to carry 5 quarterbacks if they could because of what happened to them last year. But, so do you guys – okay, let's paint this picture. If this weekend, preseason number 2, let's say Barkley, Allen, they don't cut it. Are you worried about the quarterback 2 position? Should the Bills go out and find somebody new or just roll with what they've got and hope that they don't have to use them?
I think if Josh and Matt Barkley have an off game, then Kyle Allen needs to step up and make something happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, odds are that all 3 guys aren't going to have a bad day. Like at that point, I think he has to have a good game.
Allen does, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about Kyle Allen. And speaking of which, McDermott did say that the starters, including Allen and Diggs, will be out there for about a quarter and a half on Saturday. So looking forward to seeing those guys out there. Hopefully they get through it and get off the field and, no injuries. This is the other thing that I wanted to talk about. CB2. There's like lots of different – this roster is one of the best in the league, right? Top to bottom. I don't think there's any question about that. But there are some positions throughout the roster that we do have some question marks, cornerback number 2 being one of those. And I hear a lot of people talk about we have really good depth. We've got Dane Jackson. We've got Kyrie Elam. We've got Christian Benford. What are they going to do with all these guys? My worry at this point now is this. We know we have in Dane Jackson. He's kind of like the E.J. Klein. He's the safe pick. He's going to be where he's supposed to be, as we saw from the pick. He was where he was supposed to be. The fact that Benford or Elam have not just completely taken this position and run with it, that worries me to the point where do we really have that much depth? Like, are all these guys Dane Jacksons, basically? Go, Casey.
Well,
sit there and laugh at something.
I'm laughing because the score of the Philly-Cleveland game is 2-3.
Oh my gosh.
And I've never seen that score before, so I just thought that was kind of funny.
There's your NFL update on preseason. Good job,
yep.
Casey.
Wow.
So my issue is they know what they have in Dane Jackson. I think they want to put Christian Benford on the field, but they invested a first-round pick into Kyer Elam. I think if, hindsight's 2020, but if you take Benford in the first round and he performs the way he is, and Elam's taken where Benford was in the 6th, 7th round, I don't think there's a question that who would be higher in the pecking order. Dane, it's just like that trust factor, I guess. I mean, Dane Jackson's just a safe bet, and it's hard to try something new when you have something that's been so safe, i.e., Levi Wallace. How much did we all cheer?
Exactly what Jackson does.
We're getting rid of the average corner. We finally drafted a corner, and look, we still have Dane Jackson 3 years later. It's at this point, it's one of those issues where in my opinion, there's too many options, and they just don't know which one to go with at this point. I truly believe that Christian Benford is and deserves to be the second best corner or the second corner on this team. And then probably Dane Jackson and Kyer Elam at this point. Just Kyer Elam just hasn't, to me, proved it enough yet. I mean, he had some nice interceptions last year, but I mean, he gets caught tugging and pushing and pulling a lot. He's just too handsy for me.
Yeah. It's like, are they? You think Benford will actually get more of an opportunity? Are they giving him as much of an opportunity? I mean, it's hard juggling all the guys around, but maybe you do need to just roll with it for a little while, and give him the real opportunity.
Do it till it breaks.
I'll be curious to see who starts on Saturday. Which two? Well, we know White will be out there, but is it going to be if Benford comes out there or whatever? John, what do you think about this situation though with the corners? Do you have a favorite?
I love Dane for a couple of reasons. One being on a personal level. Great guy. I wish nothing but the best for him. I hope, I pray to God that he'd be, cornerback number one, and be better than Trey. But, realistically, two things. One, a couple weeks ago, Dane was on the bubble. He was the last man out, and they were talking about cutting him. The second point is, oh God, this is back in 2016-ish, when we had Tyrod Taylor and Peterman and who was the other quarterback that we're all hyped up about. It wasn't Kyle. God,
EJ Manuel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, EJ was another one, but
AJ McCarron.
Yeah, there's another one.
The list is long.
Yeah.
And this is just from 6 years ago. Imagine if we went back all 17 years of that drought.
Yeah.
But I was talking with Ray Bentley, and I'm like, yeah, we got EJ, we've got, Tyrod, we've got this one. And he goes, if you have 3 quarterbacks, that means you have none. And right now we have 6 cornerbacks. Thank God we don't need the one, but it'd be nice to have somebody that was really solid and be a really good number 2, and try to push Trey a little bit more, if that's even possible.
Right.
It's tool time.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some stuff that people are saying if Trey just doesn't get back to where he was pre-injury, if the Bills kind of start to see a little bit of a decline, that they move off of him. And that would solve the issue in the cornerback area where it would be, I think at that point, Dane Jackson would definitely be on the field.
Right.
And then it would be Elam and Benford fighting for it.
That's just blasphemy, though.
I know. I completely agree. But it's something it would free up a lot of cap space. It would do this. It would do that. And I hearing it, I understand the idea of it and why and how and why it could work. But no, don't ever get rid of the best goalie in a hockey.
Yeah. No, that doesn't solve a problem. It just fills holes.
Yeah, exactly.
still don't have a number 2. You still don't have a number 1.
Now you don't have number 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit up on here in the comments because there are some people talking about this as well. Jessica says, just a thought, Zone, White and Jackson, man, Elam and Benford. We kind of talked about this. I think it was last week, maybe the week before.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards that idea.
I don't like it because you, as a defense, you kind of tip your hand. The offense walks out there and is like, oh, you got Elam and Benford. You guys are a man. And if they know what coverage you're in right off the bat, that's a huge. I definitely don't want that. And for this reason, and like you were saying a while ago, Casey, I think Benford ultimately, that's the one I want to see take the spot. He got the start last year over Elam. And I don't think this is a coaching staff that gives two what's about where you were drafted. If you're the better player, you're going to be on the field, period. And I think we saw that last year with Benford getting the start. And I think Benford probably would have taken over completely by season's end had he not gotten injured. So I'm looking forward to seeing who starts in this next preseason game because I think that's going to be a little bit of a telling sign personally. But then again, they might go into the season and keep flip-flopping them like we've seen them do in the past.
So like what Jessica was saying, kind of what I said, I think it was last week, about the zone and the man. Well, it makes me think of another thing. In case he was talking about the defensive backs, kind of getting in on the action, kind of in the box. So who's not necessarily better at maybe man and zone, but who's better at coverage and still able to stop the run too? Because I feel like I saw Kyrie Elam, in there when the run was getting stopped on the 5. He was kind of there in the area. I don't know.
So you're looking at the run defense aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
I think is a good run defender. To be honest, Trey White might be the worst run defender out of all our corners.
Right.
Like genuinely,
Trey White is the Deion Sanders.
Yeah, he's just not very good at it. I mean, he makes tackles, but they're downfield. Trey White isn't you don't see him very often behind the backfield coming off the edge making a play on a run play. But Dane Jackson, I've seen multiple times, on a strong toss to his side where he goes up and he stuffs the runner. He gets off his block and he stuffs the running back at the line of scrimmage. Kyrie Elam's made some plays. Christian Benford, we've seen him lay some smacks downfield just to break up a pass, So
there's a couple other things. I agree. And Jessica says Trey cannot be cut this year or traded with his contract too much dead cap. Yeah. His contract is pretty hefty. Matt Benford is not a good fit for man cover. I'm going to actually disagree with that. I think Benford is the best of both worlds. He's not great at both or one or the other, but he's solid in both areas. And I think that's the one thing that makes him, to me, more intriguing. We're talking about the CB2. He doesn't need to necessarily be a lockdown. It'd be great if he was, but it doesn't need to be. That's what we got White for. So if he can go out there and at least be that guy that can, okay, you want to try to target me, I'm going to make a play on you.
Yeah.
Because offenses are going to Jeremy Spencer's point here, Trey going to come back strong this year. I agree. So teams are going to figure that out really quick, and then they're just going to start going away from him. And I think Benford is a guy who can take advantage of that and make some plays. I think people might try to pick on him a little bit. And whether he's in zone or man, I think he can make a play.
I think that's why they brought in Kyrie Elam, because Elam is that guy that goes up and gets he's very good at going up and getting the ball, tracking the ball down and making those splash plays. We saw it last year with the 4 interceptions he made, tied for the team lead. So if that's what they're looking for, if McDermott's really looking for a more aggressive defense, more all or nothing, then yeah, I could definitely see it being Kyrie Elam.
That would be Elam, yeah.
But I think Benford's just a safer bet, and Dane Jackson. I'm sorry, John, but he needs to sit his butt down on the bench. I'm tired of average quarterback play. I want something different. I watched Levi Wallace enough, and I watched Dane Jackson for 2 years now. I need something different.
It's definitely a hot button for Casey.
It is.
I'm sure we could find a way to double up that 2 weeks on the pink there if you want.
Yeah.
Maybe for a Jack Nicklaus card.
Oh,
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, that's
Touche.
funny.
But one thing I saw about Elam, I want to say during the game is that he had, like you're talking about, man coverage, playing very physical, trying to lock it down. He had a pass interference called on him, but then came back a couple plays later and he drew the call on the receiver. So, I like that, very physical, locking it down.
Yeah,
He
Elam
showed
is
that for me.
definitely a physical player, almost to a fault. There's a couple other things we wanted to get to. We are at time, so I'm going to skip over one and we'll just close out with this one. Starters playing Saturday. Like we said, they're going to play about a quarter and a half. What exactly it looks like, 1-2 drives in the second quarter, who knows? But what are you guys looking for? John, I'll start with you. What are you hoping to see? What are you expecting to see in this game on Saturday?
I'm hoping for no injuries. I'm expecting just to see things cleaned up a little bit, tightened up a little bit. You're a couple weeks out now from the beginning of the season. Camp's done with. You kind of got a feel of where everybody's at. Get rid of the stupid mistakes. Make sure that they don't carry over into the season. Make sure if you do make any, that you learn from them this week and you move on and you're ready to go week one.
Yeah. Casey, what do you got? What are you looking for?
I'm looking for Josh and Diggs to show everybody in the national media how freaking stupid they all sounded the last 6 months. And I'm also looking for Kincaid to take about 3 passes, like down in the middle of the field, get the ball rolling, and then I'm waiting to watch Diggs like take something over the top. I can almost guarantee you that there will be a shot taken between those two during the time they're on the field together.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking for.
I'm just flat out excited. I'm just flat out excited. We're gonna see him working the starters in more and more, and we're 1 week closer again, and man, it's just
right around
live action. We waited for way too long.
I
don't know why
say,
the wait this year feels extra long, because we've just focused on every little aspect during the off season, and man, it's closer now.
It is just around the corner. Really quick, one point here, because Jessica brought this up earlier about the dead cap for Trey White. This year, it'll be over $26 million. Next year, $10 million. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. Not with those kind of dead caps. Roy asked a question about who starts at right guard. Let's talk about that next week. And also, the other thing that we wanted to touch on, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Chiefs. I have some thoughts on that, and I'm sure everybody else does too. So we'll hit on that next week as well. Really quick, John, what you got going on?
Oh, it's a little bit of everything. Just excited about the season to start, and hopefully have a current bill here within the next couple of weeks, and just start pumping out the Bills merchandise, and hoping for wins all the way along.
Right.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Your stores?
So the Rochester store is at 2670 Dewey Avenue, right on the border of Greece and the city of Rochester. And the Buffalo store is right in the heart of the village of Hamburg at 1 Buffalo Street inside of Staub Square. Both stores are closed Sundays and Mondays, but the rest of the week we're open.
Nice.
Awesome.
And you guys just had some remodeling, or you got a new look, or what's that all about?
Yeah, I just kind of switched things up a little bit here.
Okay.
There's actually a lot of changes going on in this building here. Yeah. I'm at the Hamburg store now. So, I feel like I had to fit in and give it a new look and freshen it up a little bit and put out some new things, a couple golf cards here and there. And
I know things are looking awesome there.
Curtis Strange. Curtis Strange.
That's cool.
All right, we got to get out of here. We are over time, but like I said, we're going to talk Chiefs next week for a minute. We're going to talk the right guard position. Of course, we're going to review this weekend's preseason game. Super excited about the season coming around the corner. But for the Mafia Cast and Buffalo Rumblings Network, we are out of here. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Thanks for watching. Go Bills.